This is not Total War, despite what you might have heard elsewhere. Instead, this is Master of Command, a real-time tactical strategy game set in the 18th century, 7 Years' War, and it recently released on Steam. It may look like a Total War game, especially Empire or Napoleon, but it is quite a different game despite only sharing a similar time period to some of Creative Assembly's games. Oh no, ladies and gentlemen, it is way better than just being a Total War clone, which actually is a lot different. It is a unique real-time strategy game that I think you will love, if you love battles, which I do. But before I get to the bread and butter of the game, or rather shall I say muskets and gunpowder of Master of Command, I want to talk about the single player campaign, which this is a single player only game. It is very different from Total War. Now forgive me, but I'll say this a lot, that it's not like Total War, not to compare, but more as a point of reference, so that it's easier for you to understand what this game is about, which I assume most of you, dear viewers, have played a Total War game. Anyway, there's no grand campaign map here, no big strategic moves from the nation of your choice. No, this is a smaller war campaign where you control a single army that you will upgrade and grow over the 3-act campaign. Each act puts your army on a procedurally generated map with towns, small villages and other points of interest like convoys, slums and deserted battlefields. You move around the map to these points of interest to gain resources or some items that will help you in your battles. There's a main objective for each act, which is always a final confrontation with the enemy army, but you need to build up for a couple of days, going about this map, fighting smaller battles and growing stronger before the big bad enemy army from their HQ marches up to you. There is a lot more emphasis on the individual regiments in your army, from equipping them with items that can buff them, such as smoke pipes that increase accuracy but reduce your unit's stamina a bit, because you know smoking is bad unless you want to have better aim. I wonder what they are smoking. Anyway, this level of equipping and improving your regiments is a tad bit micromanagey. I felt this was cool, but it can get a bit much, especially when the army has grown in size to more than 2 brigades. But you definitely need to do this to get any advantage you can, because the final battle, which almost always will be against an enemy that outnumbers you. While you can raid a town and some secondary objectives also ask you to do so, I avoided this as much as I can, as raiding a town would cause the AI to send a bigger force to take you out, compared to the smaller patrolling armies which I focus my efforts on. Since this is the main way I could earn lots of gold, or rather thaler, that's what the currency in this game is called. Historically, I think it's like a silver coin or something used during this period in Europe. I'm not sure which country. So you are going to be fighting lots and lots of battles, earn experience, earn thaler and a bunch of resources until you're strong enough to face the main enemy army. That is the gameplay loop of each act, which we get to the battles. Yes, the glorious stand in a line and fire at the enemy until someone runs away battles of this era. I will say this, you might think this is some hardcore authentic grognut levels war game. It isn't. I would say it is as approachable as a Total War game. So if you've played Total War, you can absolutely get used to this. Now, as I said, that doesn't mean it's the same. It's quite different. There's some really cool level of details here, but it's also missing a lot of the flair of a Total War game. And I'm not saying this just in terms of visuals, it's bit more than that. Like your regiments can actually march through buildings and there is no real river crossing like in a Total War game where rivers are not crossable except for choke points like a bridge. Basically, there are no choke points in this game at all. Things on the battle map are not actually physical things, but they're more like numerical modifiers to your unit stats. So basically the entire battle map is actually flat, and yes, there are areas that have elevation though, represented in these vaguely higher plateau looking thingies. This adds up to your unit's combat effectiveness. Now this doesn't mean that river crossings are tactically useless, on the contrary. Any unit can cross the river, but it is hit with a huge movement and accuracy penalty. So what I did was to position my troops strategically behind these rivers so the enemy gets stuck in them or stand on them to engage with my troops, which is advantageous to me. This is the key to battles in Master of Command. This is the beauty of it. It's very much a game about making full use of terrain bonuses and penalties. The game never tells you how a terrain will affect your soldiers until they are on it and you see the effects with a pop-up. Really, I think the UI for this and the information about this should be more front and center, maybe in an always-on unit card of sorts. But yeah, the UI is not my favorite, but it is serviceable, but there's certain information I wish the game actually showed it to me more obviously. But once you figure out the terrain advantages you need to win the battle, it gets a bit repetitive, I won't lie. You rinse and repeat the same moves of moving to an advantageous terrain and then brutally decimating the enemy. By the way, the game is more about breaking the morale of your enemy, not so much killing the entire regiment. Most regiments that have been routed actually stay routed in this game, although there is a small chance they rally back. But it's not like in Total War where routed units will definitely rally back. I would say it's more like 2 out of 10 routed units would rally back, just to give you an idea. Observation before the battle during deployment is key here. While the repetitiveness of battles could be temporarily stopped by the odd challenging start in a battle where your army is located far away from any advantageous terrain, I mean, it does happen once in a while. In that case, you will have to speed up and rush to those spots too. You can change your unit's formation to stay single file column formation to quickly march to get the jump on the enemy and shift back to line formation. By the way, the AI never does this. It's a pretty average AI that 9 times out of 10 just marches up to you. But you gotta keep an eye out on the cavalry because those dudes can get nasty with your less experienced units. Moving quickly to advantageous locations on the battlefield is risky business. If you get caught out by the enemy before you form your line, your unit will take more casualties since they are not 100% bracing, yes, a mechanic where I imagine your men wearing tight 18th century uniforms, clenching their butt cheeks in the hopes that will stop a musket ball. But yeah, it's one of those things that makes the battles a bit more exciting. The AI is not so smart though, as I mentioned. It has a tendency to attack you even if you attack them. So it's easy to take a defensive approach and just sit back and wait for them. More often than not, they'll just waltz up to you without understanding defensive strategies or taking advantage of terrain themselves. Overall, I would say it's relatively easy for the human player to get the upper hand over the AI, but don't get me wrong, the game is pretty challenging until you figure out how to defeat the AIs in battle. It doesn't have too many tricks up its sleeve. Master of Command does get a little grindy, no I mean very grindy, since more battles equals more resources and more experience equals a bigger and better army for you. You want to be fighting as many battles as you can, and yeah, there is no auto resolve, so you're going to have to love battles in this game, which to be fair, I do like the battles in this game. So it was okay to me to fight battles over and over again. There is a satisfying feeling of watching enemies rout or listening to the sound of them getting shattered. To add to the grindy repetitiveness is a battle map that lacks variety. It's the same map with different environmental objects scattered around. But yeah, that's to be expected. It's not a game with a Total War development budget. I think Master of Command sits a fine balance between real-time action and grognardy combat modifiers. I think once you've figured out the best way to take full advantage of the terrain, the game does get less challenging and maybe you might lose some of that fun of figuring things out. I know I might have sounded negative in my thoughts video here about Master of Command. The entire package is great though. Unique campaign with fun tactical battles. There is also a Rise of Frederick story campaign which has 5 missions with some rather nice hand-drawn animations in the style of Armchair Historian.
Bevor die Österreicher unsere Linie durchbrechen.
Well, because it is a game made by the team behind the Armchair Historian YouTube channel. Overall, this is a fabulous game that may not have everything done perfectly, but a great treat for people looking for something a bit more different, and yes, that includes Total War fans. Anyway, have you played it? Share with us what your thoughts are about Master of Command, or if you have a recommendation for another game that's set in the 18th century that's not all Total War. Sound off in the comments. If you like this video, could I kindly suggest you to hit that like button and then stab that subscribe button too while you're at it? Thank you so very much. Thanks for watching and farewell, noble friends.